Join ForumIAS Academy, trusted by hundreds of toppers, including IAS Rank 1 Shruti Sharma.
Hello and welcome to ForumIAS. Today is 27th August 2023 and these are all the articles that we are going to discuss today. The first article is about the Chandrayaan-3 mission. So the moon landing spot of the Chandrayaan-3 mission is now going to be called as Shiv Shakti Point. Our Prime Minister has named this spot to be Shiv Shakti Point. More about the news. Before that, we have to understand the basics of the Chandrayaan-3 mission. However, we have covered much in detail about this mission in our previous videos. We will have a short recap of the Chandrayaan-3 mission. So the Chandrayaan-3 mission would be landing, or it has landed, which is a very happy news. It has landed near the lunar south pole. And the launch vehicle that was used to launch the Chandrayaan-3 mission was LVM-3, that is Launch Vehicle Mark 3. So this LVM-3, it has two solid strap-on boosters, one liquid fuel core stage and a cryogenic upper stage. This piece of information is important in MCQs, and the overall weight of Chandrayaan-3 is 3,900 kg. Now here, what is pictured here? It is the Vikram lunar lander and it will release the Pragyan rover. It has released the Pragyan rover at this point, and this Pragyan rover, it has a payload, and this payload is spectrometer and spectroscope. So these two instruments will conduct experiments on the lunar surface. Okay, so this is a short recap about the Chandrayaan-3 moon mission. Moving on to this article, PM Narendra Modi announced that the point where the Vikram lander of Chandrayaan-3 landed will be called Shiv Shakti, and the point earlier where Chandrayaan-2 crashed or left its footprint on the lunar surface will be called as Tiranga. So why Shiv Shakti name? The Prime Minister has said that in Shiv there is resolution for welfare of humanity, and Shakti gives us the strength to fulfill those resolutions. So Shiv Shakti means the power or the strength to fulfill the resolution of welfare of humanity. And the Tiranga point where the Chandrayaan-2 mission left its footprint is a reminder that failure is not the end. Even though the Chandrayaan-2 mission crashed, we have successfully demonstrated our capabilities through the Chandrayaan-3 mission. And the day on which the Chandrayaan-3 lander successfully performed its soft landing, August 23rd, will be called as National Space Day. Okay, so the Pragyan rover, which we earlier saw, it has been released from the Vikram lander and it has traveled about 12 meters and it will take pictures of the Vikram lander. So basically, the rover will travel a certain distance from the lander and it will take pictures of the lander, and that will determine how successful the mission is. Is the rover and the lander, are they able to perform their designated functions? We are going to see. So there were three basic objectives of the Chandrayaan-3 mission. Out of that, two objectives have already been completed. That is, the first objective was safe and soft landing on the lunar surface. Second objective was demonstration of the rover roving on the moon. We have seen that the rover has moved for about 12 meters. And the third objective is conducting in situ scientific experiments. So these two objectives, that is soft landing and roving of the Pragyan rover, these have been successfully completed, and now the in situ scientific experiments, they are also underway. So we can say that this mission is a successful mission. The second article is about the 𝐂𝐡𝐚𝐬𝐫𝐢𝐻 art of Kerala. So we will see about this folk art form. Here we have a representative picture of this particular art form. So this dance drama, it is primarily performed by Dalit artists who belong to Veda and Pulaya communities. So we have to remember that it is a dance drama type of art form, and it will represent minuscule episodes of Ramayana at every homestead. Homestead is the home that is made by the peasants in their field. So these communities which are in the lower rungs of social hierarchy, they generally work as landless laborers in fields. So in the fields, they will make their homestead, that is their dwelling. And in those dwellings, they will perform these arts. This dance drama of 𝐂𝐡𝐚𝐬𝐫𝐢𝐻, which is inspired from Ramayana. And these songs which are used in this dance drama, they are orally passed on from one generation to another generation. What happened was that these people belonged to underprivileged communities, and they were not keen to ditch work for art. If they are going to sit and practice or perform, they will be missing out on their daily wages, and that is one of the reasons why this art form started declining. So the conservators, what they did was they intervened in order to reinvigorate this art form, and this art form is now in news because recently the Onam festival happened, and 𝐂𝐡𝐚𝐬𝐫𝐢𝐻 art is also performed during the Onam festivities. It is a Dravidian dance, and it portrays the portions from Vanayatra, which is the exile to the forest of Ram, Sita and Lakshman, and Sita's Andardhanam, which is the descent of Sita Mata into the earth. So the period during the Vanayatra, that is the period of exile, and till the point when Ma Sita goes back into the earth, the episodes in that part, they are generally performed in the 𝐂𝐡𝐚𝐬𝐫𝐢𝐻 art. So it is a blend of songs, storytelling and fast movements. So if it is a blend of songs and storytelling, that proves that this is a dance drama. And what are all some of the instruments used? Ganjira, Manikatta, Chiratta, Kaimani. Why I am insisting on this? Because a couple of years back there was a question in UPSC about the Manipuri dance form, and in that the examiner also mentioned some of the instruments that are used. So that is why I am concentrating on this. What is the takeaway from this? This is a dance drama. It is orally passed on. It is inspired by Ramayana. The instruments used are Ganjira, Manikatta, Chiratta, Kaimani, etc. And it performs the episode in the Ramayana between the exile to the forest till the point when Sita Mata goes back into the earth. Okay, so that is what we need to remember. Moving on to the next article, the Supreme Court has sought reply from the government on vacancies on the Safai Karmacharis panel. We will see what this is, and we will also see a short brief about what are all the laws related to the Safai Karmachari panel. Okay. So firstly, why this is in news? Because the Supreme Court has sought the government's response in a plea to fill 4 vacancies on the National Commission for Safai Karmacharis. So it was initially constituted as a statutory body in 1994. Why was it constituted? to ensure the rights of sanitation workers. But now this body is not a statutory body. We will see more about this. Before going into that static part, we will see what is in this news article. So there has been a petition in Supreme Court that other than the chairperson, vice chairperson and one member, the remaining 4 vacancies have not been filled. So that proves that National Commission for Safai Karamcharis, how many members does it have? There is 1 chairperson, 1 vice chairperson and 5 members. Out of these 5 members, 1 vacancy is filled, 4 are vacant. And what is the task of this commission? We have seen many national commissions like National Commission for Backward Classes, National Commission for Scheduled Castes, National Commission for Women. Each of these national commissions, they have their unique mandate. What is the mandate of NCSK? It is to study and evaluate the implementation of the programs and schemes relating to social and economic rehabilitation of Safai Karamcharis and Scavengers. So, like the National Commission for Women reviews policies related to women, NCSK will review and analyze and see the level of implementation of the laws, the policies, the schemes that are meant for Safai Karamcharis. Manual scavenging has been prohibited in a statute enacted in 2013. What was this? We will see in the next slide. And because of this prohibition of manual scavenging, the role of this NCSK is all the more important, because the commission, it has the mandate, it has to work with full force to socially and economically uplift the people and families who were once engaged in manual scavenging. As we already said, NCSK was initially established as a statutory body through the NCSK Act of 1993. The Act was passed in 1993 and the body was constituted in 1994. Okay. This Act, it ceased to have effect from 29th February 2004. From that point onwards, the tenure of NCSK has been extended as a non-statutory body from time to time through government resolutions. So, as of now, NCSK is deriving its power from government resolution and not from an act. Not from an act that is exclusively establishing this body. It derives its power from an executive resolution for the government. Now we saw something about manual scavenging being outlawed in 2013. We will see more about that. The Prohibition of Employment of Manual Scavengers and their Rehabilitation Act 2013. This is a very important act in the history of India itself, because this act prohibits employment of manual scavengers, manual cleaning of sewers and septic tanks without protective equipment, and the construction of insanitary latrines, because a certain community only perform these tasks. So if manual scavenging as a practice continued, it will mean that we are perpetuating caste hierarchy. So, abolition of manual scavenging and even the abolition of insanitary latrines, which is the root of the problem, it is a very progressive step in bringing about social justice and also in promoting overall hygiene in public spaces. No person, any private person, not even a local authority or agency like a municipal corporation, should engage or employ people for hazardous cleaning of sewers and septic tanks. Instead of that, mechanized cleaning should happen. Not only is the manual cleaning of sewers outlawed, what will happen to the erstwhile manual scavengers? What will happen to them? they will be rehabilitated. They will be provided with alternative employment. Each local authority, cantonment board, railway authority, they will be responsible for surveying insanitary latrines, and they will abolish this insanitary latrine, and this municipal authority will construct a number of sanitary community latrines. And if any person has an insanitary latrine, they will be responsible for converting or demolishing the latrine at his own cost. And if this person fails to do so, then the local authority shall convert the latrine into a sanitary latrine with proper sewerage system, and the cost will be recovered from that person. So these are all the provisions of Prohibition of Employment of Manual Scavengers and their Rehabilitation Act. NCSK is also associated with this act. Next article is about the government collaborating with Asian Development Bank to open Climate Change and Health Center in Delhi. We will see more about the news. Actually, we already have the WHO Center for Global Traditional Medicine to be set up in Gujarat. Now, apart from this body, India will open a new health hub, Climate Change and Health Hub in New Delhi, in partnership with the Asian Development Bank. So this Center for Traditional Medicine is under the aegis of WHO. So it will be located in Jamnagar, and it will aim to provide leadership on global health matters pertaining to traditional medicine. And this body will also ensure quality, safety, efficacy, accessibility, and rational use of traditional medicine. This body, that is the WHO Center for Global Traditional Medicine, will also develop norms, standards, guidelines in relevant technical areas, and it will also develop tools and methodologies for data collection and analytics. Why this is important? Through data only we can prove the efficacy of traditional medicine. In allopathic medicine or the modern medicine, there are approved methods of data collection. There are provisions of clinical trials. Because of that, these methods are internationalized. If there is one drug for tuberculosis, for example, that will be the same drug which is used all over the world. If there is one paracetamol combination and its efficacy has been established by clinical trials, the same paracetamol will be used all over the world. But with respect to traditional medicine, such a provision is not there. So in order to prove and universalize traditional medicine, there has to be guidelines on data collection and analytics. That will also be performed by this WHO Center for Global Traditional Medicine. Now coming to the new center that is going to be opened in New Delhi, it will give the opportunity to have different partners, whether be it national governments, regional governments, multilateral organizations, charitable organizations, philanthropists, like that, multiple partners, different stakeholders can discuss important issues and they can learn from each other. Even in the recent G20 outcome document, India noted that climate change will continue to drive health emergencies. For example, if there is a massive flood in an area, let us take the example of Delhi floods. Because of the Delhi flood, even in the aftermath of the flood, there was a threat of dengue getting prevalent in the slums of Delhi. So in this way we can see how climate change related incidents like extreme flooding are related to health emergencies also. That is what was reiterated by India in the G20 outcome document. Climate change will continue to drive health emergencies. including emergence and re-emergence of infectious diseases, increasing the severity and frequency of natural disasters, and if there is a natural disaster, it will overwhelm the health system because so many people have to be given first aid. So many people would be affected by disasters like flooding, cyclone, avalanches, etc. So, if the health system is overwhelmed by these first aid cases, how will they be able to deliver essential services? These things will be compromised if there are more and more natural disasters which is rooted in climate change. If there are more and more natural disasters, it will burden the health system, and much of the energy, much of the resources will go into tackling that natural disaster rather than delivery of health services like maternal services, immunization services, child care services, etc. These essential services will be interrupted because of a lot of natural disasters. So there should be resilience in health system so that even if there is a natural disaster, there is also a facility to deliver essential services, and that the response to disaster and also the delivery of essential services go hand in hand. So there should be a climate resilient health system, and there will be a sustainable and low carbon or low greenhouse gas emission health systems and healthcare supply chains. Even if we have to have a resilient healthcare system, that healthcare system should be a low emission healthcare system. Then only that low emission healthcare system will be sustainable. If we are doing something to combat climate change, the health system in turn should not contribute to climate change, right? So it will be a vicious cycle. That is why there is an emphasis on low carbon, sustainable health systems. So there will be collaborative measures, there will be different initiatives such as the WHO-led Alliance for Transformative Action on Climate and Health. In line with this WHO-led alliance, India is going to establish a hub of climate change and health with the support of ADB, that is the Asian Development Bank, and this hub will be established in New Delhi. I have already explained what is the importance of such a hub, because climate change and health related emergencies are interrelated, and health system should not contribute to climate change. It should be a sustainable health system. Moving to the next article, it talks about childhood TB cases. Because of the missed childhood TB cases, it will become impossible to achieve the 2025 goal of eliminating TB. What is the problem with respect to childhood TB? That is beautifully summarized in this particular infographic. We will see in detail. Childhood TB remains a staggering health problem, and this childhood TB alone is 31% of global burden. Globally also, a significant number of children are affected by childhood TB. Especially for children as a demographic, TB is the leading cause of death from infectious diseases. TB is the number one infectious disease that is causing most deaths in children. Globally, at least 1.2 million children aged less than 15 years fall ill with TB every year, but 56% of them are not detected. So this number is not important. What number is important is the 56% of the cases not being detected. If it is not being detected, how can we target these diseased persons? How can we eliminate TB? How can we reach treatment to these people? That is a concern. And the estimated mortality of children with TB who fail to receive treatment is about 22%. What does this mean? If there are 100 children who are failing to receive treatment for TB, 22 of them succumb. They die because of lack of treatment for their tuberculosis disease. And out of this global scenario, India contributes nearly 1/3 to the global childhood TB burden. This is an important statistic. So if we see, India has been targeting TB elimination effectively. There has been more availability of diagnostic resources. Many people are undergoing treatment for TB. So as a result, the number of TB cases notified in India has increased. However, the notification of childhood TB, it has remained constant. That is, of the total number of cases that are detected in India, only 6% are childhood TB cases. This shows that number of childhood TB cases are not detected at all. Why? We will explain this. Nearly 0.34 million children in India aged under 15 years are estimated to get TB disease every year. Children in this age group are estimated to contribute about 13% of the TB caseload. So, if we consider that 0.34 million children are infected and 13% of the TB caseload comes from children from the age of 0 to 15, what is the percentage that is detected every year? 6%. So, only 6% of total TB cases are childhood TB. Instead, it has to be 13% of all the cases should be childhood TB cases. So this is the gap. This is the undetected childhood TB patients. In 2022, only 1,35,734 children were notified. Thus, over 2 lakh, about 40% children were missed last year alone. So this gap is what is impeding our progress in achieving TB elimination by 2025. You need not remember this data at all. What you need to understand is that 56% of the childhood TB cases go undetected, and in India, the amount of or the number of childhood TB cases have remained constant at 6% of total cases. But it should not be the case. It should not be 6%. It should be instead 13%. So there is a gap, and these people are not receiving treatment. Okay, that is the crux of this article. Why there is a gap? That also we need to understand. Children are more vulnerable to acquiring TB infection and developing the disease. So this gap, those who are undetected are very vulnerable because their infection severity will also increase, and they are not receiving treatment also, which sets a dangerous precedent. Though children are required to be tested using highly sensitive molecular tests, only smear microscopy is used. So smear microscopy is their sputum or their saliva is smeared, and that is tested under a microscope, which is not very accurate. In case of children, highly sensitive molecular tests are required and not just a smear microscopy. And we already saw that in smear microscopy, the sputum, which is produced when you cough, the sputum is used and it is placed under a microscope. But in children below 5 years, that is the toddlers, it is difficult to produce sputum also. Why the children TB should be detected using highly sensitive molecular tests? It is because of low bacterial load in children. So highly sensitive tests are needed. Only in smear microscopy is done, then the bacteria cannot be successfully detected because of the low bacterial load. So what happens is, practically what the doctors do is, the childhood TB is detected based on clinical evaluation, that is what and all symptoms are being reported by the child and his parents, and this clinical evaluation is supported by tools such as chest x-rays, but it has limitations. It is not very reliable or accurate. That is why the sensitive molecular test is required, especially to detect cases of childhood TB. And even in TB, there is a deadlier form of TB, which is the drug-resistant TB. First of all, a lot of children are not even detected of TB even if they have TB. Then detection of drug-resistant TB, which means that TB is resistant to the drugs which are administered to manage TB. That is drug-resistant TB. First of all, detection of TB itself is in a very low profile. It is not up to the mark, because we don't have that many sensitive molecular test kits. So underdetected cases are there, and detecting drug-resistant TB is even more difficult. So think about those children who are undetected and over a period of time, because what will happen? A child is having cough-like symptoms and this child is taken to a hospital, but they only do smear microscopy or they do this clinical evaluation and see the chest x-rays, and it is ruled out that this child is having TB. So the parents take home the child, but the TB in this case is undetected because of the faulty mechanism. In that place, sensitive molecular tests have to be used. That is not happening. In this case, the child's TB is undetected. So the parents take the child home, but the child keeps getting coughs. So the parents administer by themselves some antibiotics, and the TB itself becomes drug resistance, which is even more dangerous to cure. So this is a very dangerous precedent for us to achieve TB elimination by 2025. So from this article, what did we learn? We learned about how many cases of childhood TB are going undetected, and what is the reason for such undetected and underdetected cases for childhood TB, and how it ultimately impacts our health system as well as the child. So that's the end of our discussion. We will see some previous year question. With reference to the cultural history of medieval India, consider the following statements. Siddhas of Tamil region were monotheistic and condemned idolatry. This is the correct statement. Lingayats of Kannada region questioned the theory of rebirth and rejected the caste hierarchy. This is also true. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? Both are correct in this case. Next question. Which of the following best describes the term import cover, sometimes seen in news? It is the ratio of value of imports to gross domestic product of a country. This is wrong. It is the total value of imports of a country in a year. No, this is also wrong. It is the ratio between value of exports and that of imports between two countries. No, it is not related to two countries. Import cover is often associated with one country only. It is the number of months of imports that could be paid for by a country's international reserves. This is the correct answer. RBI has dollar reserves, right? Foreign exchange reserves. So it is around $500 billion. With that $500 billion, how many months of import can we pay for? Because we can't pay for imports in rupees. It has to be paid for by using dollars only. How much of dollar reserves do we have to pay that import? Pay for that goods that are imported is what is import cover. In 1991, India didn't have enough import cover, enough money to pay for our exports, enough dollars to pay for our exports. That is why the 1991 economic crisis happened. Next question. Communities sometimes mentioned in news in the affairs, and you have to match them with countries. Kurd, Bangladesh. This is wrong. The Kurds are Kurds. They are located in Iraq. So Bangladesh is a wrong answer. Madhesi are associated with Nepal. That is correct. Rohingyas are associated with Myanmar. That is also correct. The answer is C, 2 and 3. So that's it for today's discussion. Follow us on all the social media platforms. This is Indumati signing off. You can download the PPT or the PDF from our Telegram channel. Thank you and all the best.